Guys, thanks very much for coming tonight, everyone that's here. I think a lot of the audience here tonight I have known and come to know over the last couple of years just through various interactions and through various friendships and connections that have transcended the last decade or 2 decades or even 3 or more. And I just really want to say I really appreciate everybody's support. Doing half the things that I do wouldn't be possible if I didn't have the backing and support of a lot of friends and family and sponsors. So sort of with further ado, I had an idea of how I was going to introduce this whole project to everybody this evening. As a lot of people know, I speak as an inspirational speaker all over the world, and I'm trying to work out how I could structure this talk, this event this evening. And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this project is so incredible that I don't need to try and structure it. I don't need to try and spin it in any kind of way. It's so inspiring and it's so awesome. I think it speaks for itself. I don't have to flower it up. It's something I've been working on for about 5 years, and I truly believe that it's going to change the lives of millions of people in South Africa and possibly the world. So before I even go into it, I'd like to say a big thank you to Craig Featherby and Kieran from Carrick, who have really come on board and really helped make this whole thing possible. And without them, we wouldn't be standing here today. And obviously the Two Oceans Aquarium. I mean, what an amazing venue to be able to have a launch for this kind of project, which everything that I do is based around the ocean and it's ocean driven. So I hope you all appreciate the new tank that they've just launched a couple of weeks. I actually said to Mareka I might steal the guitar shark and take it with me. It's so cool along my journey. So ladies and gents, before I actually go into the actual project, I think it all goes back to an idea. And I think everything we do that's monumental in our lives goes back to an idea, a connection, or a person in your life that connects the dots and gives you an idea, and you run forward with that idea, and you take daily steps and actions towards making that happen. The more you do, and if you never give up, then you eventually get there. And after coming back from winning the Mavericks 2010 event, I sort of started looking for another sport that could help me grow and help me evolve and do something different. And I met a very interesting individual, one of the top speed sailors in the world, actually, a guy called Rob Munro. Rob, are you here? Anywhere? Robbie! Rob Munro, standing at the back there. There he is. He now does some amazing coffee, and he does a whole lot of things. But he came up to me after coming back from the Mavericks event, and he said to me, "Chris, there's this new cool sport. It's called stand-up paddleboarding. I've got a really nice board for you. I think you should try it. I think you'll really enjoy the sport. So give it a go and let me know what you think." And I tried stand-up paddleboarding for the first time, and I sort of got hooked. It was one of those sports that transcends all different types of adventure, surf, and you can go anywhere with it. It's a great workout, and you can pretty much, the world is your oyster. And within 6 months, I was dropping into 40-foot waves at dungeons on the stand-up paddleboard, which had never been done before. And I was like, wow, you can do amazing things with this. And then 6 months later, I was starting to get into the downwind stand-up paddleboarding and doing the downwind series. And then I was like, wow, you can go really far and really fast with the stand-up paddleboard. Maybe I could try and see. I think it's possible to maybe go from Cape Town to Langebaan in a day. But I thought, well, that's pretty far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do it for charity and break it up into 2 days. And I eventually ended up doing that. And then I was like, hold on a second. Okay, well, if I did it over 2 days, 6 hours, 12 hours, I think I could do it. So we upgraded equipment, and I started putting a little team together. And then I actually realized that the distances and the speeds that we were traveling, the current world record wasn't actually far off what I'd been doing. So I got an amazing team around me. Darren Roberts, who's here, Jen, who's also here, has been part of some of my crazy adventures at the back there, and a whole lot of people. Geordie, I think, who was also involved in that. And we ended up doing, starting at Kommetjie off Slankkop Lighthouse at 6 o'clock in the morning to a full moon with a pod of humpback whales that came across our bow, which I paddled with for the first 15 minutes, and ended up doing over 130 kilometers. So starting at Kommetjie and going all the way past Langebaan and setting a new Guinness World Record for the longest distance paddled open ocean in 12 hours straight. And I came away from... And it was really cool because all the stuff I started to do for charity, and I was like, wow, this is really cool. I can do these amazing things and I can give back at the same time, and this is awesome. I want to see if I can maybe evolve that. So then we took the 12-hour record and we thought, okay, well, it's easy. Or if we do the 12-hour record, if we want to do the 24-hour record, we just double it with the same conditions. It should be pretty simple. Unfortunately, the 24-hour record became a little bit of a nemesis, actually. It became probably the most difficult thing I've ever done in my entire life. Because to get the right conditions to do a 12-hour record in stand-up paddleboarding in South Africa is relatively simple. Because in summer we have the southeasters that blow. They start out light in the morning and get stronger in the afternoon. Fantastic. Unfortunately, during the night, everything changes. And in our waters, it's known as the Cape of Storms for a reason. And the conditions go completely pear-shaped, and they're very unpredictable, and they change all the time. So we ended up doing the first attempt, and the wind went westerly, and the sea stay went to about 4.5 meters. Our 60-foot tuna boat almost capsized in the middle of the night. Nearly lost a guy overboard. We pulled it because of safety reasons. Then we were like, okay, we need to be clever. We need to take all the lessons we've learned from this and evolve and apply a different strategy. And we moved it further up, a start to be further up, and we did it again about 6 months later. Now, all these kind of things, they cost a lot of money, and the logistics are exponential. And we ended up doing it the second time, and there's a little low pressure system that didn't show up on the forecast. It was meant to be really close to the shore, so we went further out. We started a lot further north, and we thought we had skirted it, but in the middle of the night at about 2 o'clock in the morning, a huge fog bank came in. It went northwest. Our support boat sank, and the mist came in so thick that I couldn't see in front of my face. Then I got seasick because the sea state changed so dramatically. Then I was getting circled by a shark while my sport boat was sinking, and I was throwing up. And it's just when the ocean goes bad and it turns nasty, things happen and change very quickly in a very short space of time. And I remember that when we started that day, there was like glassy, perfect day. And I remember saying to Darren, I think I said to him, this is when I worry, when things are good when you start, because in 6 hours' time it's going to be very, very different. So then we ended up doing it again, and we actually did finally get that record, and that is in one of the clips that I'll go run through now. But in between that, I ended up actually coming up with an idea of trying to actually possibly paddle across the Atlantic Ocean. And I thought, well, maybe I could do like a proof of concept of that, because if it's 3,500 kilometers to go shortest point to point, then if I can do 350 kilometers unsupported, then maybe it's possible. So I researched all the different places and how I could get in and out in different points, and I packed up all my gear, all my water, all my tents and little cooking facilities, all my safety gear, all my comms and everything else, and I tied it all on my board, and I started at Cape Point, and it took me 7 days, and I paddled 350 Ks through the most craziest conditions you've ever possibly imagined. I started out through really big seas, ended up on the nudist beach. Where's that nudist beach? It wasn't by intention at all. That one, yes. Then the next night I ended up crawling up through the penguins on Robben Island and camping there. Then the following day I paddled from Robben Island to Dasson Island, and on the way to Dasson Island the wind picked up so strong in a southwesterly direction, which it wasn't forecast to do, that it was blowing me straight out to sea, and the closest form of land was 3,000 miles away. And I knew that the wind was predicted to only increase, and I could only keep my same direction because I didn't have a rudder that could steer me against it for another 5 knots of the wind increasing, and then I'd get blown out to sea. And I ended up paddling 7.5 hours on one side until the point that I got there completely sunburnt, sunstroke, dehydrated. I burnt my cornea so bad that I couldn't even see straight, and I collapsed face first on the sand. And then the next day I had to paddle from there to Langebaan through the mist. Got surrounded by a pod of humpback whales that swam with me for a while. I ended up having to take a break that night because my eyes actually couldn't focus properly. And the moral of the story is that I went back and we actually ended up carrying on, and then I got shipwrecked on some unknown beach because the waves took me on land, and we finally got to the destination of Lambert's Bay of 7 days later. And I realized quite a valuable lesson that time is that the elements are the most severe thing to deal with. You've got to be able to learn how to get out of the sun and protect yourself. But I realized by doing that unsupported and taking all my stuff with me that it was possible. And that started germinating this idea, and I thought if I got the right craft, I got the right logistics, I got the right planning in place, we could actually possibly pull this off. So I started researching it tremendously, and while I did that, we got to the point of redoing the 24-hour record, and we moved it all the way up to Mozambique in the east coast of Africa. And I think this will just give you a little bit of an idea of what it takes and what's involved. Enjoy the little clip. So the real reason why we're here this evening, as I've said in that clip, I really do believe that everything that I've done over the last 40 years, from sailing, surfing giant waves, doing transatlantic crossings with Nick, who's a friend of mine that I used to sail with, who's part of our shore crew, to all these crazy adventures, every single one of them, every lesson we've learned, every obstacle we've come up has been to test ourselves and to be able to take those lessons and apply them to be able to achieve what we've set out to achieve. So without further ado, I'm going to give you a little intro clip into what this crossing is about. I think anybody that knows me really well and that's close to me has known that this project for the last probably 8 months or 10 months has consumed every little bit of me in every physical, emotional way possible. I've been working 16 to 18-hour days for the last 7 days a week for the last 6 months to try and make this happen. But I believe in this project with every fiber in my being that it's going to change the world. And when you believe in something with such amount of passion and belief, and you know that it's going to make a dramatic impact to the world, then I believe that passion driven by purpose will eventually get you to your goal. So I look forward to you guys enjoying the start of the sub-crossing. Enjoy. Guys, I know a lot of people are a little bit shocked and dumbfounded by that clip, and there's a hell of a lot that goes into it, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief rundown of everything that's sort of involved. But I think the most important thing for me in this project, and it's the why that really drives me to make this project happen, more so than the actual paddle, is what it's going to actually do over the next 5 generations to follow. We've set up 3 annuity funds, one for Operation Smile, one for the Lunchbox Fund, and one through Signature of Hope, that by the time I start in December, we'll have enough money in each of those accounts that will pay out a dividend every month for the next 5 to 10 generations to follow. And each month, they'll pay a minimum of being able to pay for an operation every 3rd day for the next 150 years through Operation Smile, to have surgeries for kids that are born with cleft palates. One kid is born every 3 minutes in this world with a cleft palate or cleft lip, and only 20% of those kids last and make it to their 3rd birthday. And I think if we can have that kind of impact to be able to change a life forever, every 3 days for the next 150 years, that's pretty incredible. The other annuity fund that we've set up is through the Lunchbox Fund, which I'm also an ambassador for, where we've also set up the fund in the same way to be able to pay out a dividend every month that will pay enough money out every month to feed over 30,000 children a month for the next 150 years. That's 1,000 a month. That's one child every 3 minutes for the next 150 years. And then Signature of Hope, which is an amazing refunder. The other annuity fund we've set up will pay for building over 5 to 6 schools, some in South Africa and possibly one in Madagascar, in areas where there isn't enough money for or facilities for education. And I think that is pretty special, because education for me and inspiring kids into believing what's possible is super important to me. The last one is Two Oceans Aquarium, where through what we're doing, we're going to be educating and helping educate the kids in the classrooms. They have over 70,000 kids in there, go through their classrooms here upstairs every year. And I'm going to be doing connection from the middle of the ocean to be able to do an update, to be able to help educate the kids on the creatures in our oceans, the pollution, and how to protect and respect it. Okay, so this might look like gibberish to a lot of people, but for a navigator or a sailor, this is actually really exciting. I'm not going to get too excited about it, but basically, if you look at all these 4 maps actually are the same area, all these charts. Anything that's based in the ocean is chart-based. And each one of them, if you look at the top left one, that shows the rough route from Morocco via the Canary Islands all the way across the Atlantic Ocean, showing the distances 650 kilometers, then 4,800 kilometers, then 2,135 kilometers. But what we probably do, if you connect all those dots together, what I really like about it is it actually creates a little smile. And that's what we're doing. We're creating, changing lives and creating smiles across all the children that we're going to be helping, and that's the reason why we're doing it. If you look at the chart below that, you'll see a lot of them got these funny little red and orange spikes. Those are the wind vanes that show the characteristics of the wind over that area. If you look at the bottom right one, it shows the currents, and if you look at the top right one, it shows the precipitation and the water and air temperatures. All those are very vital information for me and for my team to be able to analyze how we cross the ocean in a safe manner, and to follow the use of the old ancient trade and currents and spice routes which the old ancient mariners used to use to be able to cross over the Atlantic Ocean from the east to the west. And they actually use those trade winds which blow predominantly straight across that exact route that we're traveling 90% of the time. And there's a current called the equatorial current that goes that way as well. How do I know that? Because our friend over here, that big turtle that you saw cruising around called Yoshi, who I've swum with a couple times in the tank, he's a good friend of mine. He also swims those routes as well. So if you take a look at the 2 top charts that you see those routes that go in a circular motion. That's actually the same route of the loggerhead turtles that do the migration from Africa to the Americas, following exactly the same route that I'll be paddling, because they use the currents in exactly the same way as we plan to do as well. And Yoshi and I, or the couple of turtles that are going to be doing that migration at the same time as I'm going to be paddling, are going to be having a little race. And it's going to be race on, because they travel between 25 and 48 kilometers a day. And if I have a really bad day and I end up going backwards, he's going to overtake me, because we do get storms. So it's not if, it's a matter of when and how many. And there's a possibility they'll probably go backwards a couple of days for sure, and go the wrong direction quite a lot. But I'm hoping that I'm going to beat the turtle to the other side. So we're going to try and do some live updates to the classrooms over here to be able to keep track on our journey and draw some similarities between the migration of the turtles and the guy paddling across the ocean. Okay, so everybody's been asking about this mysterious craft that I've been building. This is actually, these are pictures that are taken about 3 weeks ago in England. There's a craft building company called Renouche who are the most prominent open ocean rowboat manufacturers that do all the transatlantic rowboats for the race that goes from the Canary Islands to the Caribbean. And we've developed our own version of a combination between a stand-up paddleboard and an open ocean row craft, which they have, which I've taken quite a lot of their characteristics of their internal of their craft in regarding to the cabin, the electronics, a lot of the safety measures. What you'll notice is it's a little bit smaller. This craft is about 2.5 feet longer than my normal stand-up paddleboard that I normally paddle on doing the open ocean record, which is 17.5 feet. This is just under 20 feet. The picture you see of my paddle up in the top, that's actually exactly the length of the area where I'll be sleeping. So my paddle takes me up to about 5'11". The sleeping space is exactly 5'9". So I've got about 6 inches of room, which should be, that's my sleeping space for about 3.5 months. You'll see that there are a lot of little compartments around the side. They've actually just put the craft in the water yesterday, did the writing test, so they turn it over and make sure that it writes itself automatically. It's got watertight hatches in it, so that little compartment that you see is not open to the elements. It's actually completely closed, watertight. You can lock it off. I can, in the middle of a storm, I can crawl inside, get changed, get warm, put my little stove cooker on. All my instruments are inside that read the same instruments that I can see on the outside, all my electronics. This is a super high-tech craft. It's cost over R1 million to build. It's got every type of electronics you can possibly imagine for sat-nav stuff. It's got a AIG system which picks up any craft within a 10-mile radius, tells me exactly what craft it is, what direction it's traveling, what the call sign, what distance it's is from me, what the percentage collision rate is, what VHF frequency it's traveling on, and how to take avoiding action. So you've got your 2 battery banks, which are powered by solar, 2 different 100-watt solar units on the back and the front, which power all the electronics. We've got radar, we've got autopilot, so I don't have to steer as much and I can just paddle. A lot of water bladders. We've got a water desalinator unit which keeps it, which is on the inside, which is also powered by solar, which turns the salt water into fresh water. And you know, to the point that we even got a little drone that's coming with me that we'll be able to. It's called the Lily. You can just pick it up, turn it on, and throw it up in there, and it follows you and takes footage of you. And we've linked up with Inmarsat, which is the biggest global communication satellite comm system in the world. That's one of the reasons I flew over to the UK, because this system that we're implementing on this craft will allow something that's never been done before, which will allow me to be able to do real-time live updates while I'm in the middle of the ocean 3,000 miles from anywhere. And that's pretty cool, because we're going to try and, thanks very much, because we'll be able to see the progress on how much money we're raising, how many kids we're feeding, how many lives we're changing, and also do little updates to the classrooms in the Two Oceans Aquarium from the middle of the ocean to tell them about the pollution, the turtles, the little creatures that I've seen, probably not so small either, that have been following me. Yeah, and a lot of people always ask me about my training, because not a lot of people get to see me when I train, and they wonder why they never see me training. Well, this is a picture of me training, and this is the reason why you don't see me. Because if you really look very, very hard, you'll see a very small white speck, and that would be me training just off Cape Point a couple months ago. So if you wonder where I train and why you don't see me, there's good reasons why. Ladies and gents, we are about 3/4 of the way through this project in regarding to funding it. We actually still need your help, so if you know any other sponsors that are keen to get involved, we've set up 2 crowdfunding campaigns, one for the USA and international, and one for local, which is through Thunder Fund, which you see on the left-hand side. We don't want you to just donate money towards this project to help us make it happen. We've got to still pay for all the logistics to make it happen, even though we're about 3/4 of the way there. But there are a whole lot of perks, so you can donate anything from 250 Rand right through to 50 grand if you want, and right through to getting, your name in my next book or in the film that we're making from this. Twitter sessions, me coming to speak for your company, whatever it takes, because we are going to get there and we need a little bit of help. So if you're not able to donate and buy one of the perks on the crowdfunding campaign, then share it, like it on Facebook, send it out to everyone that you know, and hopefully we'll be able to make that happen together. This is the website. I just thought I'd let you guys know we've just gone live today. We did a countdown until about an hour ago. This is pretty amazing. The website's got live tracking, so you'll be able to follow me. It'll be able to track me from the first time I start paddling right through until the end. The live tracking will basically give you all the distances that I do on a daily basis. It'll have a counter at the bottom. You'll see the counter has how many people we've already started feeding. You'll notice that there's one operation that we've already funded and paid for, but we only launched it an hour ago. That isn't a mistake. I took 5,500 Rand out of my own bank account this morning, and I paid that straight over into that account this morning, because I'm all in. This project, I don't want everybody else to, thank you. I don't expect everybody else to donate if I'm not involved. So I've put everything in from my side. I've put everything in for the last 5 years to make this project happen, and I'm making the commitment to paddle 7,500 Ks across the Atlantic Ocean, so I'm hoping you guys can share in a little bit of support and help as well. Thank you. Many might say, I've heard that before. I used to do a lot of things by myself, and used to achieve some crazy stuff, but I've learned over the last 5 years, especially doing a lot of the stuff that I'm doing now, that no man is an island. And these kind of projects you cannot accomplish and pull off by yourself. And I've managed to build up an amazing team that's been super supportive over the last month or two when I've got everybody involved to be able to help me make this happen. There's one young lady actually here tonight who's part of the team, who's actually, as far as I know, it's actually her birthday. And I'd like her to call her up. I think her name is Linnell Ramp. She's our physician and our doctor for the subcrossing. And there's a cake somewhere. Can someone bring out a cake? There's a cake somewhere. Cake. Someone bring out a cake. Anyone? Yes. Yeah, wait, there's a cake. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Linnell, our physician. Happy birthday to you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Woo! Thank you very much. Don't you like that, Lenny? 23, it's amazing. While I've got Linnell up here, I'd actually like to bring up everybody. Thank you very much. I'd like to actually bring up everybody that's part of the team. It's a project. So Jeff, Darren. Come on, guys. Justin.
Come here.
Everybody's trying to get out of this one. No one likes coming up on stage. Come on, guys. There's our dream team. David, Becca, Ace. There we go. Richard, Elka. And no, Mandy's somewhere in the background. And we've got 3 people in America that are part of this team that are working tirelessly to be able to help make this happen. I've got another friend of mine that's in the UK that's also working to be able to help put this project together. So I think you can get an idea now that this is not a small project. This is something that's taken a hell of a lot of time and effort to be able to put together. And without these guys' support and everybody, chipping in, not because they're getting a lot of money out of it, but because this is passion driven, because they believe in the cause, they believe in what it's about, to the point that we've even had donors that I've friends with in America that I've done a talk for that put in 500,000 Rand straight into my bank account when they heard me talking about the project, because they believe in what it's going to do and how it's going to change the world. And that's what this project is about. So thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. I wouldn't be able to do it without you. Thank you. Thanks. So guys, yeah, at the end of the day, this is what it's about. It's not, for me, this is not about paddling across the ocean. This is about making an impact, changing the lives of millions, and leaving a legacy. And this is a project that's going to do that. So I'd like you all to think about that for a second, and being really mindful of Mandela Day last week. That was one thing that I thought about a lot, because this is a guy who was an icon, a leader, and an inspiration. And by being a leader and an inspiration, it's about leading by example. Being able to sacrifice everything for what you believe in, no matter what, and no matter what it takes. I believe in this project so much that I've even signed surety on my house to be able to make it happen if we run short of cash. That's the definition of being all in. But it's okay, because even if I lose my house, I'll have a very small house that floats. Just enough room for two. So guys, I would like everybody to think about that for a second, because I believe every single person in this audience here has the ability to be able to make an impact on the world. And all it does is it takes one idea, one small idea, to believe in it, to be passionate about it, take daily steps and actions towards making it happen, staying focused, staying driven, staying determined, and never ever giving up on it until you take the impossible and turn it into possible. Because you can achieve anything you want in life, and you can make a massive impact on the world. So when we have the opportunity to not only leave a milestone, rather go a little bit further and leave a legacy. Thank you very much.